Welcome back. I'm ADHDcent. Let's get stuck in. We are now well on our way to our modding setup. Now before we go down the personal route and download the mods that you want to in turn, I'd like to suggest a few mods that will help the smooth running of your game. These mods aren't a necessity per se, more of a personal preference of mine that allows a number of different mods to run seamlessly together. So the mods that I'm going to suggest. We start with the USSEP. The USSEP is essentially one large bug fix. It contains a number of different patches and tweaks to the original scripting of the game. Now the USSEP is almost a requirement for many of the mods you might want to download further on down the game. It is particularly useful with all these little tweaks and stuff that you might not even notice, but it does contain a number of different patches and bug fixes that you will find incredibly useful even if you don't actually realize it. The problem with USSEP is that it also contains a number of different balancing options that the author had decided was more suitable for the game. Now, when you're playing the game yourself, you may decide otherwise, which is why it can be a little bit frustrating, because the problem you've got is that the balancing was decided for you, rather than you making the choice yourself. But based on the number of patches and bug fixes, it is something I would still suggest. So that would be our first one to download and install. You'll find that there'll be a number of mods that do actually require the USSEP to be able to function properly, so that does save you a bit of time in the future. The second one on our list is the Cutting Room Floor. The Cutting Room Floor is actually developed by the same author as the USSEP. The Cutting Room Floor contains a number of different aspects and elements of the game that were chosen and deliberately removed from the game by Bethesda, the developers of the game themselves. This is something that can sort of expand your Skyrim experience a little bit by putting those back into the game and allowing them to be integrated into the game quite seamlessly. Moving on to the SMIM, the Static Mesh Improvement mod is one of the most popular mods in terms of changing the textures and the quality of certain aspects in-game, so certain items and 3D textures. It is a massive mod, over 1 GB in size, so it'll take a little bit of time to download, so don't let that put you off. It is well worth doing. Just to make that a little bit crisper, after all, Skyrim has been around now for over 10 years, so the graphics and the detail can be improved a little bit upon the original game. Static Mesh Improvement mod is one of the first ones to install that will give it a little bit more of a nicer finish, so I would recommend that one. And finally, a quality world map, which is a fantastic overhaul of the map system itself. It allows you to choose from a couple of different designs. So as you can see, you've got ones like the paper map, for example, or you've got a more detailed world map, and then you can choose whether or not you want the fog on top of it or not. It's something that can just sort of, again, upgrade the game that little bit, make it a bit more graphically detailed, something that'll just add a little bit to your Skyrim gaming experience. You'll find yourself using a map an awful lot in the game, so why not make that one of the things that you actually change the look of and enhance ready for your gaming experience. Now, with the quality world map, you will see in the download section that there are a number of files available depending on the type of map that you are looking for. But once you've selected one, just download it straight into your mod manager, or you can download manually, as I tend to do at the moment, and then we can drop them straight into our mod organizer. So now that we've got those downloaded, we're going to open up our downloads folder, and you will see that the folders here, the files and the zip files, we're just going to select them, drag them and drop them into the download section. Now we can open and go into Mod Organizer, and we can double click on them in order to install them. I'd recommend starting with the Skyrim Special Edition patch and then just click OK. And we're just going to do the same for the other three. We're just going to go with everything on this one, but again, if you yourself want to change that, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to click Install. And then finally, the world quality map. Now that we've got the 4 installed, if you want to get rid of them from the download section, you can actually right click in the area and you can hide the installed ones. So we click yes. Now over in our window over here, we're going to have to tick the 4 that we've just downloaded and installed. Now what you might notice is in Mod Organizer, under the version number, that they haven't actually been updated correctly. Sometimes they actually display the date, sometimes they just display a random number. I'm not too sure of the reason why. But if we are linking them with Nexus mods to ensure that they are up to date when we play, it is quite straightforward to do, and I would suggest doing it just to keep track. So to right click on it and then go down to information, and we're going to click that. Now it'll bring up a pop-up window that says the mod ID, and then in the version number here, as you can see, it's displaying today's date. So if we go back to where we downloaded it from, and under the file section, you will see the version number here. And we're going to take that version number and go back into Mod Organizer, and we're going to put that version number in here. It will have updated, and as you can see, it is green. So if you want to do that again, I would suggest doing it for all of the mods you've got. So now we've got those 4 installed, you need to remember that you need to run loot in order to ensure that the load order is sufficient. So we're going to open up loot by clicking on run. So now at the top you can see a button that says apply. We're going to click it. I also suggest checking on the master list every so often by just updating it by clicking this button. I like to do it personally every time I've got to open because it only takes a second and then I don't lose track of it. I wanted to touch upon a few mods that will do stuff behind the scenes. On the surface of it you're not going to really notice, but they are particularly useful. So the list of the ones that I would suggest, the first one would be the console utility. This will be required by a number of different mods that you might download. So we're going to go to the file section and we're going to download. Now this particular mod does actually require address library, which we've already downloaded and installed if you've been following the series so far. It also requires SKS64, which we have also got as well, so just click on download. Next on our list is the Jackson's MCM Kicker. All this does basically speed up some of the menus because they can be particularly slow. Whenever I used MCM in game, I found that it just took a long time to actually come up with the different mods that I had installed and their menus. Now this does require Sky UI and SKSE64. If you've been following the series again, we've already touched upon both of those. So as you can see, there is a certain order to doing a lot of these things, and I've tried to do that in the best order that I can to ensure that there aren't any issues when it comes to doing this yourself. Next on our list is the Papyrus utility, which is again something that's going to work behind the scenes for you. Is particularly useful. It's more useful for modders in the majority of situations regarding scripts. But we're going to put that on in the background as well, which will just do us some favors further on down the line. Without going too far into it, where it can get a little bit complicated, I would suggest just putting that into your mod organizer. So, 3 left. Power of Threes is the next one, just download that one. The Power of Threes Papyrus Extender is one of those ones again that you're not going to have to look into too much, but it is useful behind the scenes, so I would suggest putting it in. The last one we're going to put in is MFG Fix. This might be a particularly specific one for a lot of users, but it is one that just helps with the command console, just fixes a couple of the issues that can be found with that. Now that we've got those downloaded, we go back to our mod organizer and open up our download section. Now we can see the ones that I have left that I haven't installed yet, and we're going to just drag and drop those into the download section like so. Again, if you're one that downloads straight into your mod manager, that's absolutely fine as well. I've currently got the automatic setup to download to Vortex because I was messing around with it, which is why I'm currently downloading them manually, but I would say download them to your mod manager because there's just no need for the extra step. Now with them in your downloads, we're just going to go through them one by one and install. Now with the Papyrus Extender, it'll come up with a pop-up window. Just make sure that you've checked your version number and you're using the correct one, otherwise that will throw errors. So once we have got those, again we can right click in the Downloads tab and hide the installs, moves them out of view, makes it a little bit neater. Remember that you have to actually check the boxes in order for them to run. Now again, I will leave that to you, but if you want to update the version numbers on this, just go to information and enter the version number. Now I would say with adding mods into your mod load order that you need to run loot to make sure that it is correct. In this particular instance, all we've done is add certain functions behind the scenes, so if you do update it, it's not going to say that there's anything needed, so don't worry about it this time, but it's a good habit to get into to do that every time you add mods. Now you'll always find with pressing continue on Skyrim that it's a bit of a risky move. Depending on how far into the game, the mods that you put back into the game might conflict and throw some errors, so you might find certain issues. If you're starting off relatively early, you might be okay, but I would always suggest trying to get your mod list down before you then actually go and run the game and start your game. And that's it for this video. Now we've got our basis to be able to put in the mods that you personally decide. I'll be covering a variety of different mod categories to give you an idea of which ones might be best for your gaming experience, but this was more to get the foundations ready to be able to put those into place, and the mods with particularly strange names that you might not understand what they actually do, but they might be needed for certain mods. And now you can decide for yourself which sort of mods you'd like to implement. I will be doing a number of different videos covering those different categories to give you an idea of what ones you'd be looking for, which ones would be best for you. So stay tuned, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It's much appreciated to know what sort of videos are beneficial to you guys, and I hope to see you soon.